Hi, I'm Neela Vaswani, and I'm from New York City. I'm a writer and a professor, and I also head the Storylines project at the New York Public Library. And I said I'm from New York, but I'm kind of from all over. My father's Indian, my mother's Irish Catholic, and we moved around a lot. Probably 18 different houses and apartments in 30 countries from when I was born till I was 18. So I'm really comfortable in the in-between. The in-between, in and of itself, seems like a very solid, real place to me. So the Storylines project at the New York Public Library is something I founded, I think it was 2008. And I started it after 6 years as an adult literacy and English as a second language tutor at the Seward Park Library in Chinatown. And there are 8 centers called the Centers for Reading and Writing throughout the New York Public Library system. So 8 different branches in the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and I was so moved by my students and their courage and their struggle. So it's adults who were either born and raised in the States and never had an opportunity to get an education because of their life circumstances, or it's ESL, English as a Second Language students, people who were born in another country and came to the United States as an adult and are learning English for the first time. And some of the ESL students actually can't read and write in their own native language as well, but most of them are literate in their own language. But the New York Public Library's program is one of the only ones in the city that's completely free, which is why I started teaching there as a volunteer teacher about 6 years ago, because I just thought that was so important. There are these great programs, but the people who most need them can't afford them. So I started teaching there. My students are so incredible. They continue to inspire me. A lot of people say I'm here because I want to be able to help my children or my grandchildren with their homework. A lot of people say things like, I was cheated out of money because I couldn't read and write, or I took the wrong medication because I couldn't read my pill bottle. So, it's so, we take it for granted when we're literate and you've been reading since you were a child, you forget how necessary it is, how important it is, to say nothing of all the beautiful things you can gain from reading, just reading a poem, or more practical things like reading a street sign or the newspaper, or reading your voting ballot. Um, so, so these are the reasons why people come to that program, and I just wanted to acknowledge how strong and how intelligent they are, because I think the world in general privileges intelligence that comes from having gone to college or being very learned in terms of books. But the students I work with, they can't read and write, but they're so smart, they're so intelligent, and nobody seems to acknowledge that or see that in them. So I wanted to start something that would honor them and their efforts. So the program, it's just a once-a-year event that brings together the adult literacy and ESL community with a very well-known young adult or children's author. And so we pick the author about 8 months before the event. This year we're having Walter Dean Myers and his son Christopher Myers, and their book We Are America, A Tribute from the Heart. We've also had people like Ashley Bryan and Naomi Shihab Nye in the past. So we pick the author, and I make up a curriculum so that all of the students have exercises, writing exercises and discussion exercises that we work on for about 8 months in all 8 centers. And this leads up to the day of the event, where the author comes and everybody in attendance, usually about 200 people, get one free copy of the author's book, which is a pretty big deal because for a lot of people $15 for a book is a luxury. And then the author gives a talk on literacy, and then the author awards 5 students for their writing, big prizes, $500 each, and then 16 students get $100 each as honorable mentions. So the students are so thrilled that a famous author has read their writing. It's between 1 paragraph and 3 pages, no more. So no matter what your reading or writing level, you can submit. and people often will take the full 8 months to work on just one page of writing, but it's so beautiful, and it's their life story, it's their voice. And so then the author judges the work, which is always very hard for them. They always say these are also amazing, but there's only so much money to give out. And then that's the night. They get their awards, and there's a performer who comes and performs the 5 big winners' pieces. And then after that, there's just food and fellowship and book signing. I think as an artist, we're sensitive creatures. I mean, you know that, and you have to be sensitive. You have to be emotional, or you can't feel the world and then express yourself and express the world. So I think a lot of times you do build that protective shell, and you have to learn to, because you can't, there's a difference between being sensitive and being wounded. You can't let yourself get wounded by things. So I don't know, I kind of think eventually I had to come to the realization that it is possible to be strong and tough, but to also be vulnerable and open at the same time. And it's just about kind of finding the balance so that you're protecting yourself, but you're still open at the same time, and you're tough and strong when you need to be, but you're also squishy and giving when you have to be. I don't know, it's just I think a kind of balancing act, like everything.